All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about one single, powerful force that ties together the dog sleeping on your couch, the code that runs our financial markets, and, yeah, the massive battle for survival happening right now in our hospitals.
It sounds like the start of a really weird joke, right? A loyal pet, a super smart piece of code, and a tiny little menace. They seem like they're from completely different worlds. But what if I told you they all share a fundamental, creative, and sometimes kind of terrifying origin story?
Yep, the link is evolution. But we're not talking about the old school dinosaur fossil version you learned about in science class. No, we're talking about a living, breathing process that we've shaped, that we're now learning from, and that is, believe it or not, fighting back against us as we speak. So when you hear the word evolution, you probably picture dusty fossils and Charles Darwin's finches on some faraway island. But its principles are happening all around us in the most modern and, frankly, immediate ways you can imagine. Think about it. For thousands of years, we humans haven't just been watching evolution from the sidelines. Nope, we've been in the driver's seat, actively grabbing the wheel and steering its course to completely remake the world around us.
I mean, every time you see a specific dog breed or you grab an ear of corn from the grocery store, you are looking at the direct results of artificial selection. That's us, humans, intentionally picking the traits we like and breeding organisms to get the outcomes we want. We've basically been evolutionary engineers for millennia.
But that relationship, it's changed. We're not just guiding it anymore. Now, we are actively studying its master playbook to solve some of our most complex problems. And this brings us to something called evolutionary algorithms. This is so cool. Imagine you want to design the most efficient antenna possible. Instead of trying a million designs by hand, you just tell a computer, hey, generate 100 random ones, breed the best ones, and throw in a few random mutations. You let it run for thousands of generations, and pretty soon, the computer evolves a design that's way more effective than anything a human could have dreamed up. But what happens when that incredible adaptive power is turned against us? Well, we see that darker side in a place where the stakes are literally life and death, our hospitals. Because here we are locked in a relentless evolutionary arms race with bacteria. Just look at this number, 10 million. If we stay on the track we're on now, that's how many people drug-resistant infections are projected to kill every single year by 2050. To put that in perspective, that's more people than currently die from cancer. This isn't some far-off threat. It's one of the biggest challenges to modern medicine, and it's all happening because bacteria are evolving way faster than we can innovate. So how does a superbug colony even get started? Well, this slide is a perfect illustration of classic natural selection. You see, an antibiotic acts like a huge pressure on the environment. It just wipes out all the susceptible bacteria, which clears the way for the very few that, just by pure chance, happen to have a mutation that lets them survive. And of course, those survivors pass that awesome trait on, and before you know it, you've got a whole colony that's totally immune to the drug. Okay, so here's the real kicker. Bacteria don't just have one way of evolving to resist our drugs. They have, let's call it a slow lane, and a terrifyingly fast one. Over on the left, you've got the classic route, slow, random mutations, little mistakes that happen when DNA copies itself. It's evolution by trial and error. But on the right, you have something way, way more powerful. Horizontal gene transfer. This isn't about waiting around for a lucky genetic mistake. This is about getting a fully formed, battle-tested resistance gene handed to you directly from your neighbor. It's really the difference between inventing a new weapon from scratch and having one airdropped to you in the middle of a fight. Let's really focus on that fast lane for a second, because this is how the superbug crisis gets its incredible speed. It turns out bacteria have developed these really sophisticated ways to share their genetic cheat codes with each other. So horizontal gene transfer, or HGT, is a total game changer. It basically breaks all the traditional rules of evolution, where traits get passed down from parent to child. With HGT, bacteria can share genes across different species, even with distant relatives. A single bacterium can become resistant to multiple antibiotics all at once.
And they've got three main ways of doing it, which this slide illustrates so well. First step is conjugation. Think of it like a bacterial bridge. They literally connect and pass a little piece of DNA to their neighbor. Then there's transduction, which is like a virus taxi. A virus accidentally picks up bacterial DNA and injects it into the next cell it infects. And finally, transformation, which is the ultimate scavenger move. A bacterium just sucks up loose DNA from its dead neighbors and wires it right into its own genome.
And you might be thinking, okay, this must be pretty rare, right? Wrong. Just look at this list from the World Health Organization. These are the most critical pathogens, the superbugs we are most afraid of. And almost all of them are known or predicted to use these gene-swapping tricks. This is the main highway for how resistance spreads like wildfire through our hospitals. So yeah, this all paints a pretty grim picture of an endless arms race. For every new antibiotic we come up with, bacteria are already figuring out how to beat it. So how do we fight back? This quote right here really gets to the heart of the problem. It's not just about one resistant type of bacteria spreading. Because of HGT, the gene itself can become the infectious agent. It can jump between completely different species of bacteria, creating multiple, unrelated superbugs all at the same time. But here's the crucial shift in our thinking. The very same force that's creating the problem, evolution, is also our most powerful tool for finding a solution. By understanding these evolutionary pathways, scientists are now developing evolution-guided interventions. These are strategies that actually anticipate and steer bacterial evolution, things like using specific drug combinations that make it harder for resistance to pop up in the first place, or even designing therapies that make having a resistance gene a bad thing for the bacteria. We have to think like an evolutionary biologist to outsmart our microbial foes.
And that really leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Bacteria have been evolving for 3.5 billion years. They are, without a doubt, the undisputed masters of adaptation. So in this ultimate arms race, we're pitting our own ingenuity against the most powerful creative force in all of biology. The question is, can we be smart enough and fast enough to stay one step ahead?